Hello, everybody, and welcome to Artist Corner. Today, I have a special guest, Bill Wurtz. Would you like to introduce yourself?
No.
Fine by me. I'm Nolan Brewer, and I'm a musician, and I'm also the host. You've probably seen Bill from multiple places online. He's known for being a musician, animator. He animates his own music videos. He he has his website where you can actually view a ton of his work and even ask him questions. And we had a call last week where you told me you were around your 1 millionth question. Is that right?
No, that was probably just an estimate.
Oh, and just an estimate. Sorry about that.
Yeah. It
How,
might be
how
2 million, it might be half a million, might be.
oh, that's still really cool though. But
Yeah.
yeah, thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I'll get right into the questions. Have you ever played around with different types of tuning systems?
Yes.
What are your thoughts on them?
I did not have a particularly good time.
Which one did you mess around with?
The I I tried doing the pure I tried making it pure. I tried making it pure because this is a crazy first question, but that's fine. I've seen I have a yeah, I don't know if I should try not to repeat myself, contemplating whether to avoid repeating myself or not. I've written extensively about this. Um yeah, so I'm sorry to anyone who's already read the extended write-up of this situation. Yeah. I
have
don't
a
know. Should I talk about it or no?
feel free to do what you
I
want.
could talk about it. Yeah, I don't know. That's crazy that you just said. I'm first of all, I'm glad that you're hosting this because clearly I don't know what I'm doing. At one point, you mentioned you offered like if I want to host it, and I was not sure if I'd be capable of that. But wow, okay. So right away, first question. That's a pretty heavy question. Yeah, yeah,
Do you
yeah.
have a preferred so there's A4 it's A440 and
Well, yeah. Leave the A.
A432?
Well, okay. So if you're talking about where the A goes, that's fine. I leave it at 440. It is actually exhilarating to put it somewhere else because it sounds really fresh. But in the last 30 years, everything has been locked to A40 in the digital age since there's like no more tapes usually. So it's anything in the past 30 or even 40 years is pretty much locked to A40 even after you hear it. There used to be in the old days, people used to complain that the radio was sped up to get more commercials, so it's at the wrong pitch. But that's not true anymore. Even if they do speed it up, the pitch is staying the same. So everything is at 440. So I just think of I don't know. I think of that musician practicing along to recordings, and then something comes on, like Beat It comes on, and they're just like, oh, what am I going to do now? Something that's halfway in between, So I don't know. On one hand, it is fresh to put to calibrate it differently. It will sound super fresh, but I don't know. So I just keep it normal.
Have you ever do you ever hear a difference when you're listening to music? Can you tell which tuning?
Well, sometimes you can tell if it's like different, just because we're so used to hearing A440. So sometimes, yeah, sometimes things sound out. Yeah, definitely. If you hear 440 music all the time and then you hear something different, it will sound fresh. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's only part of the question though, because you said different tuning systems. Um, yeah. So yeah. One day, this is kind of old news. I feel guilty saying this because I've kind of rambled about this before. Yeah. No, I tried doing the pure thing. I tried setting it up so that it's all pure. So the major third is pure, and because they teach you that, okay, like the modern tuning system we use, 12 tone tempered thing, is really just a compromise, right? So you can play in all 12 keys equally. And so one day I tried to set it up so that I was like, what if I set it up so that it really is exact? Because so it's not a compromise. So like the major third is a harmonic, correct major third. You know what I'm talking about, right?
I I know bits and pieces, but I'm
Oh, okay.
not as
Okay.
familiarized with it all.
Okay.
Would you mind explaining a little more?
Okay, sure. Yeah. Well, so a fifth, well, an octave, okay, octave is double the frequency, right?
Yeah,
Did you know that? Okay.
yeah.
So a fifth is one one and a half, two and a half. Fifth is three times the frequency divided by two. So that's one and a half. So the frequency of C times 1.5 should be the G. That would be a perfect fifth, like a perfect fifth, like totally like perfectly, perfectly in tune. But on our modern instruments, such as the one behind you or this one here, uh, it has to slightly compromise. This is crazy. I didn't realize I was going to be giving a lesson on tempered tuning today.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
yeah. I think music theory is really powerful, and I think learning it, even if you know just the basics, usually helps a lot.
yeah. I only got about 2% of the way through that answer, but I'm not sure if I should go any further. I might be talking about it for 10 hours.
No, I
But
yeah.
the shortcut to the solution is 12 12 tone equal tempered is more miraculous than I thought, and I will not be using anything else.
Sorry, can you explain what equal temperament means?
Yeah, it means that, well, yeah, I started to explain it, like, because like, so a fifth, perfect fifth is like
Oh
an
yeah, yeah.
octave. We already decided an octave from C to C, that's double the frequency. You get what sounds like the same note an octave higher. If you triple it, you get a G. If you And then times four from the original note would be another octave, and then times five from the original note would be something just about like an E. It'll be like a C E. It'll be like a major third. If you have a guitar string and you use harmonics, you like, lightly, put your finger on it. You'll hear that. You'll hear the what sounds like a dominant seventh chord.
Hmm.
You'll hear on a low E. Well, pretend it's in the key of C. I don't pretend it's in the key of E. Okay, on the E string of E, and then you hear another high E, and then you hear a B, and then you hear the next E, and then you hear like about the next G sharp, and then you hear about the next B, then you'd hear like kind of like a D, and then you'd hear another E, and then you'd hear like another F sharp, and then another G sharp,
This is
and
by
that's
going
the
doing
harmonics.
sorry, this is by going across the fretboard, right?
Yeah,
Just
with
by
harmonics, not pressing on a fret, but just lightly grazing it. Yeah,
oh, cool.
yeah. You'll hear the harmonic series. Yeah,
Do you think the timbre of the instrument affects that?
the harmonic series is not going to change.
Oh,
It's either, I mean, it's going to work or it's not going to work. But you wouldn't get, like, if you harmonic series won't change. That's just like overtones. It's like multiplication. Like you multiply the frequency of the original note times two, times three, times four, times five, times six. So
wow.
yeah, so there's the idea, like, okay, so what if your G to C to G note was a actual perfect fifth? Like, what if the G was actually exactly 1.5 times the frequency? Because if you set that up to like get it to be pure, you wouldn't be able to play in all 12 keys, or at least that's what we're all taught, I guess. Um, so yeah, because like 12 tone equal temper tuning is like some magic compromise that allows you to like play in all 12 keys. So yeah, so one day I decided to like say, okay, fine, forget 12 keys. Let's just see how it sounds in one, see if I can get it to actually be like pure in ones. And I was expecting that I would get a really pure major chord sound that like doesn't vibrate. Like if you play a major third, it kind of vibrates a little. It kind of is not actually, it doesn't have that perfect, like perfectly pure sound. It kind of vibrates a little. So yeah, so I figured I would try to set that up. And then pandemonium ensued because yeah, logistics. I mean, I don't know if I should ramble on with this, but if you so you know what the C is going to be. So then you know what your G is going to be because that's the fifth. So then what's the F going to be? I guess you could assume that's going to be like a fifth down from the C. So you set that up. And then it's like, okay, what's the E going to be? I'm thinking key of C for now. What's the E going to be? Let's say it's going to be that perfectly harmonic major third sound, which would be 5 times the original frequency divided back down. So it's in the same octave. Okay, so set that up. So then minor third, now you have to define what a minor third is. So for now, I guess you could say that it's the relationship of that G that we established and that E that we established. So that means up a pure major third and then down a fifth, right? Or down a pure major third and then up a fifth. So you set that up. So now let's set up the D note. And I did this like 10 times in different ways, but I'm just trying to fill in all the notes, trying to figure out what they should be and how their frequency should actually be derived. So you divide, so the D, let's say, is derived from the G. So that's C and then a fifth and then another fifth, or back down a fourth, which is the same thing. Okay, so then let's say, now what's the A going to be? And I think you can already see the trouble on the horizon, because there's 2 ways now to calculate the A. You can calculate a major third away from the F that we already established, or you could do a fifth away from the D that you already established. And it turns out those are going to be very different values. Either way you do it, let's say you set the A so that it's a major third away from the F, a pure major third away from the F. So take the F, multiply times 5, and divide it back down the octave. Now, guess what? Your D to the A, which should be a fifth, is going to sound horrible. I think in the ancient old times, they used to call that the wolf fifth, or the wolf. Anyway, it's going to be terrible. So I was thinking, I had this idea that in the old days, with the pure tuning, it was fine if you want to just play in one key, but you have problems if you try to play an F sharp. But actually, the problem is even worse if you set it up even just in one key. For example, the way I just set it up, the D to A is like a nightmare. So now you could set up the D to A so that it's good, but then like your F major chord is going to be a disaster. So it's like, and I must have played around with this for several days, and it was quite shocking to me. And a whole cascade of other realizations that I realized.
You're kind of changing the relationship between the different intervals of each chord, right? Am I close?
I was. Well, you asked me if I've ever played around with different tuning systems. So I did what I thought was common sense, which is to try to figure out what this original pure tuning thing was before the big 12 tone equal temperament compromise happened, which is probably like 200 years ago or something. I actually don't know when it happened. It was hundreds of years ago. So I tried to work it out. And again, I was shocked to find out, just putting together like a C major environment, when it came down to these relationships, mostly the relationships like that would be in that D minor chord, the relationships between the D note, F to G to A, those relationships, there's like 2 ways of common sense to figure out how they should be, and they disagree. And yet you need the D minor chord itself to be cohesive as a chord. So if you get that to be pure, then those notes are not going to be pure in the one chord. So basically, I ran into catastrophic problems way sooner than I thought I would. And it brought up some crazy implications about, like, basically what is that second chord? What are the real relationships supposed to be with that second chord? And by that second chord, I mean basically something with, I was saying it's something with G in the bass. I'm still talking in the key C, something with G in the bass and like D and F in it. Maybe A, maybe G, doesn't really matter. Sort of like G7 sus4. It's like, thousands and thousands and millions of songs use this type of chord across any genre pretty much. It's like the one chord is the C major and then the other thing, which includes the D note probably and an F note and that. So like D, F, G, C, whatever, D, or just D minor or whatever. That's the secondary chord, let's call it. So yeah, what the heck is supposed to be the pure relationship between those notes? Because if you make that a pure chord, then you're going to actually get individual notes changing their frequency slightly, because you're going to use the F that belongs in the secondary chord, or like the D that belongs in the secondary chord. They're going to have to change. Like if you go to a C chord, to an F chord, to an A minor chord, to a D minor chord, you're going to have to get notes that are slightly changing to agree. But the magic of it is that those notes actually don't change from chord to chord. So you can have a D in the melody that holds from a G chord and then to a D minor chord, and they don't change. So Yeah, it was
Hmm.
I don't know. It was
Do
pretty
you,
profound
do you think that
for me.
the voicing of the chord can and can make it easier to make it all work?
Well, what I discovered is that 12 the 12 tet system is more special than I thought.
Hmm.
That's what I discovered. It's because with that you can just play all those notes and you're fine. So it's like more than just you need it to play in all 12 keys. It's like no, you need it to play in just one key. I was very surprised at this. I must have gone several days down this rabbit hole.
So when when you think about that, do you think about modes in any way? The different modes like Phrygian, Lydian,
No,
all
no,
that? Hmm.
no.
Do you think that different modes can also affect the relationship of the chords?
I'm not sure what you mean actually.
I mean, so let's say you have a chord progression and maybe it's like C, A minor, F, G,
Mhm.
and then you're sorry, can I think for a second?
Sure.
Do you think that the mode affects the kind of emotion that comes across with what you're playing?
Are we still talking about tuning systems?
Yeah, I mean, in so actually I don't really know. Sorry, I'm a little
Okay,
confused.
that's all right.
I apologize. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That was a heavy first question. At least it has a heavy answer. So
Yeah.
that's why I was like
Well,
cautionary. I was being cautious about what I get
I think
into.
I could have done a better job, honestly, of maybe asking.
No, no, no. That was a perfectly fine question. It's a perfectly fine question. And the answer is no, not anymore. The answer is like I'm sold on 12 tet. Well, it's also fun to move around however you want with the trombone or with voice. That's fine. I want that. I want a full range of pitch, but I don't want any different system of in tune notes other than 12 tet. And I'm not alone in this because like every song you hear pretty much anywhere, and yes, including other countries like in Africa or anywhere, like they use 12 tet.
Yeah.
And you buy any instrument and it's 12 tet, also tuned to A440, which it doesn't have to be, but that's just nice that we all agree. But any music program and you go and like do anything, it'll be
So
in 12 tet.
temperament.
And it might seem like well someone ought to like try something different, and sure you can try something different, but yeah, I'm almost disappointed in how boring this answer sounds, but
No, I think it's
yeah,
really interesting. It's really complicated to me, so
12
I'm trying my
yeah,
best to
12 tet is worth it. 12 tet is worth the hype, but no one's hyping it, but in practice they are because everyone in the world uses it for everything. Your
yeah.
ringtone, like the ringtone on this call uses it. I mean, like everything uses it.
Yeah. Wow, that was all really interesting. I think I haven't really thought about it too much personally.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I mean I didn't even know what equal temperament meant really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
it's the world we all live in. It's the world your keyboard lives in, and it's what allows you to play in every key and have it sound the same. But it's
yeah.
also what allows even one key to sound good when you go from C to D minor, stuff like that.
What do you think would happen if all of a sudden all of that just changed? If we just for some reason started using another tuning system?
I don't know. I don't know why that would happen.
I guess it's just kind of a hypothetical.
Yeah, nothing would sound as good.
True. Yeah. Cool. I was wondering what kind of what kind of music when I listen to your songs, I kind of hear some influences, and I won't ask you specifically about who your main artist influences are because I think last week on our previous call you told me you don't really like hearing that
Mm-hmm.
question.
Thank God you're
But
hosting this. This is wonderful.
but I will say I do hear some influence from maybe reggae music
Yeah, 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 yeah.
or I'm trying to think what else.
I
Reggae
can confess to
and
that.
definitely pop.
Yeah,
And trying to think. I don't know. I think I hear reggae, pop, jazz, fusion, and just a lot of interesting genres.
sure.
I was wondering what kind of genres do you think that you listen to the most?
Well, I don't know. I think something broke in my brain, and I don't know what the word genre means anymore.
That's yeah, that's a good point
Like
actually.
that, I don't. It's my problem, but I mean, yeah, that word is broken for me. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Do you so when you make music then do you kind of just
Even though I still know, I still vaguely get what they're vague. I mean, like they're vague terms and they're useful in a vague sense. But beyond that, like, yeah, they do have a usefulness. Like you said, oh, how about reggae? I was like, yeah, hell yeah. I mean, just generally meaning a few vague things. Um,
I
I
guess
think I think
yeah.
everything associated with reggae has a extremely good reputation. So I'm definitely not shy about saying yes
I
to
think I get
that
what you
one.
mean.
But yeah, I mean, you just never know. I mean, yeah,
Yeah. So when you make music, you don't think about genre at all,
of
really.
course not. No, no, like no, that word is so weird. That word is so broken for me. And like anytime anyone asks me about it, I'm like, I have to take a really deep breath because it's like a system failure in my brain. It's like a system crash, and I have to like navigate my brain crashing in order
Hmm.
to answer a question that has to deal with that word. It's like so insane. And even if there were genres, why would it not be like? Why would you not want to break them immediately? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why would you want anyway? If the word is broken for me, and
Yeah,
it's my problem, I'll accept responsibility for that.
so I have been getting to know you a bit in the past week or two, and I've learned that you really don't like rules. I think that's inspiring to me.
I don't know if I would say it that way. I think rules are wonderful. Rules are wonderful, and one of the most basic things you
Hmm.
can do to exercise a rule is to try breaking it. So maybe that maybe that gave you the idea that I don't like them, but that
Sorry,
wouldn't be true at all.
I shouldn't have voiced your opinion for you. I
That's okay. Yeah,
apologize for
no,
that.
rules are wonderful, wonderful and fun, including breaking them and then rebuilding them. Yeah,
Hmm.
just breaking them, building them, breaking them, building them, breaking them. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Can I think for a second?
I'm Yes. I want to also say I'm really sorry. I was going to say I'm sorry for not. You said earlier. You said, "Can you introduce yourself?" And I said, like, absolutely not. And I feel bad about that, but I don't. I think I don't quite know how to do that.
Oh,
So I'm sorry.
yeah, no
Forgive me
problem, man. I
for
mean,
saying that.
I'm still learning myself. I think
Yeah.
really when I do the podcast, I learn through each episode on how to do different things by actually doing the episode.
Yeah.
And now when I introduce myself, I just say my name and maybe just say something about myself like I'm a musician and then I
Yeah.
let everyone know that I'm the host so there's no confusion.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that's something that if that's how you want to introduce yourself or not, but I think you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Cool. Is that a Poland Spring water bottle?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. It's not a sponsor, but it's not a sponsor. But some brands are so huge that you just
Yeah.
I could try to leave it out, but it's like whatever. I mean, there's Yamaha written on that base, like what are you gonna do? Like you make a movie and there's a McDonald's logo in the background, like what are you actually gonna do? Like some brands are just so big that it's actually extremely hard to avoid them.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do?
Hopefully they don't sue
It,
us.
it
Or
would be more.
actually they
No, I'm
sue
not.
me, I mean.
No, I'm not saying anything bad about it. Like I have one of these in my hand. Like every time you've ever seen me, I have one of these in my hand. So I have an extra one under the desk for lined up for the next one.
Nice. Do you have any exercises that helped you get better at rhythms?
I don't know. That is a long time ago. Um, no, just lifelong using it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never had a problem with rhythms. Rhythms came really easy to me.
Wow.
Really,
Did you
really.
ever have a problem with keeping in time then?
No,
Hmm.
I
I
feel
guess
guilty saying that because it sounds like but I mean, no, I've never had any problems with that.
do you think that practicing with a metronome is required for that?
Practicing with people will be better. Metronome is nice. Almost 100% of music, especially popular music that's been recorded, and again, the last 40 years has been recorded on the click to a metronome. So I feel like if you have surrounded yourself with that kind of music, I feel like perfect time would be pretty much intuitive, I would think. Um, I don't know.
I've heard that using drum tracks too really helps. I don't know if you've ever done that.
I've seen people who are so obsessed with the metronome and then they get on a live gig and they start freaking out about as if like the metronome is like the authority, but if you're playing with real people and you're not playing to a click, I think it's more important to not think about yeah, I think it's more important to not think about metronomes and stuff like that. If you're playing with real people in a real room with a real audience, I think it's more important to think long term and to
Hmm.
just think more long term and don't like yeah, just think more long term,
If
I
you don't
suppose.
have
Yeah.
anyone to practice with, do you think practicing by having your piano and then watching a live performance and playing with the video could be a good idea?
Sure, that could be good. If there's no one around, if there's no people, then yeah, clicks are cool.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, if there's no one around and you're recording your own music, you might be doing it with a click. I mean, if you're recording multi-track arrangements, you probably want to use a click because, like, I mean, it'd be pretty tricky to do that without a click because there's nothing solid to hold it in place. Like, it'd like be like building a building without putting the like foundation in, just trying to kind of build each wall and hope they kind of line up. I don't know. Yeah, if there's no one around, yeah, clicks are probably good for you, I think.
I think all there's so many grids nowadays, especially with DAWs and all the music softwares. I was
Mm-hmm.
wondering, have you ever thought about making your own program for your music and just not
No,
having a grid?
not having a grid.
Yeah.
Uh, I use the grid, so I wouldn't want to go without a grid. If I'm doing multi-track, I want the grid.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, if I'm doing multi-track, I want the grid. I wouldn't, but you can take the grid out. I think in any, I think you could take it out if you wanted to. But if you're doing something that's one track and you want to, I mean, I still use the grids there, but I just ignore it. If you're doing something like spoken word or something that doesn't have a grid, yeah, in some cases I don't use a grid if I'm doing really short, um, like really short musical bits that are jumping in with spoken word content like that. Those types of things I don't use a grid.
Hmm.
But the grid is still there, but they just ignore it. It's not a problem.
Yeah, for the listeners who don't know, Bill is also a programmer, and that's kind of why I asked that question because
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I was
Mm-hmm.
speaking of that, I was wondering who are some programmers that really interest you in modern
I don't. I don't.
times?
I don't think I know any.
You don't?
No.
I was listening to an interview a while ago and someone mentioned Ray, I think his name is Ray. It starts with a Kerr, I think.
Ray
Ray,
Kurzweil.
sorry, can I yeah, is that how you say it?
Yeah. Well, it's just how to say that guy's name. I'm just a
Yeah.
wild guess that that's who you were talking about.
Yeah, is he a programmer? Sorry. I
Actually, sure. Yeah, I bet he is a programmer. Yeah, of course. How could he not be a programmer?
yeah,
That's not like that. Probably wouldn't be the first thing in his like biography. Maybe it is. I don't know.
what do you
He's
think
the
of
guy who no, he's the guy. He's the guy who's. I mean, as of the last several decades, he's the guy that gives talks about Moore's law and about how like Moore's law has every one of his talks is like, oh, by the way, Moore's law is still holding and the singularity is still happening, and here's my evidence that I'm right about this. And also, he's a real good news. He's really into the good news thing. He's really into
Sorry, what's that?
like basically saying like, look on the bright side, like the world
Oh,
situation is not
yeah.
terrible the way everyone says. Anyway, I haven't checked up on him recently because I think he was saying things should really be cooking by now. So
especially with AI, right?
yeah, which it is, but it's who knows? I don't know. Yeah, he's cool. He's optimistic.
Yeah.
I
And
mean, his
so,
name is on the keyboards because he helped design the
oh, I didn't
Kurzweil
know that.
keyboards. Yeah, that's the same Kurzweil.
Oh, wow.
I think
That's cool.
Stevie Wonder worked on that with him. I could be wrong about that, but
I love
yeah,
Stevie Wonder. He's awesome.
yeah,
But
he's pretty special, isn't he?
yeah,
Seriously,
do you know how to play any of his songs?
I don't know what that means. Sorry. Do I know how to play it?
I
I don't know
mean,
what that means.
could you I'm trying to come up with a way to get you to answer the question.
Yeah,
Could you play relatively the notes of one of his songs on an
the
instrument?
notes. Sure.
Ah,
Yeah, I mean, like if I like play a song, I'm not going to play the exact every note that he plays. Like like if you say a sentence that someone else said, you're not going to like inflect your voice in the identical way. Because I mean, but yeah, no, I don't. I would not. Well, his songs are actually quite complicated. So in some cases, if I were going to play it or do an arrangement, yeah, I'd have to check
hmm.
up on it and be like, what? Do I have that chord right? Yeah, but no, I mean, generally, no, not really a problem.
Yeah, speaking of arrangements, do you ever write sheet music or transcribe anything
I have done
that
a
way?
lot of that. I have done a lot of that, especially in my youth.
Do you still do it now?
Not so much. No.
Hmm. So when you're learning music, do you learn new songs then? Or
I don't
are
know
you,
exactly what you mean by that.
so do you, sorry, when, because you told me recently that you kind of disconnected from the radio and a lot of
No, not
music.
no, not so much. No,
Sorry,
I wouldn't say that.
can you explain it then?
Explain what?
What you meant when you said that to me?
I don't recall saying that.
Sorry,
I'm so glad.
sorry.
I'm so grateful that you're hosting this show because I would be having a miserable time if I was trying to do it. I wrote down some things, but I have no idea.
I'm being, if I'm being honest, I'm trying to think really hard right now.
That's okay.
I'm trying to think of the right words to get you to answer that.
Yeah. To answer which one?
Just if you learn new songs on piano.
Yeah, playing a song is not going to be a problem for me. Like if I've heard a song a couple of times, even if I wasn't trying to memorize it, I I can play it. It's not a problem. Stevie Wonder is an exception slightly because he does kind of go out of his way to make things super complicated. But so maybe I'd need to take a little bit closer look at it. But no, it's not going to be a problem.
Hmm. Do so I think in your music you work with a lot of different types of samples. Am I right?
Sort of. Yes and no.
Have you ever used a clavinet that and kind of like
Sure.
that?
Yeah, that sort of sound. Yeah, that'll show up. Yeah, yeah.
How did you learn to get the technique for a clav?
Maybe I don't know. Maybe I have a bad understanding of what a clavinet is. It seems to be work the same as a piano keyboard, but maybe I have no idea what
Well,
I'm talking about. I've
I
never
get
used a real one.
I guess what I mean is in funk, especially with how Stevie Wonder plays it, he kind of with superstition,
Mhm.
I know a little bit of it. It's a lot of staccato, I think,
Staccato meaning short notes.
short notes and
Uh-huh.
bouncy movements.
Sure.
Do you have any advice to learn how to do that in funk?
Yes. Yes. Throw yourself into a band as soon as possible where you are suddenly responsible for just doing it on the gig and suffer through if you feel uncomfortable doing it, suffer through those first 10, 20, 30, 40 gigs and then you'll have it. It
Hmm.
won't be a problem.
That's kind of like me doing these interviews, to be honest. I just throw
Yeah,
myself in.
I know. Well, I'm there with that now. I'm like, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I No, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
You've been doing a lot of interviews recently, by the way. I think,
Yeah, I've yet to actually host one, so I don't know if that'll be different. I go on as a guest, and sometimes I'm like, damn it, I wish I could be hosting, but I don't think that would be easier. I do not think that would be easier.
yeah, that by the way, earlier he mentioned something about him hosting this episode, and I asked him during a call if he wanted to host because he does want to do his own talk show eventually.
Oh, you're talking about me. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just telling the listeners to clear
Got
up
it.
any confusion.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned, yeah, you want to host. And I was like, well, yes and no. So, yeah. No, I'm so glad that you have something written down. Even if it's like even if it's like questions that make screws go loose in my brain. Like,
No,
yeah.
yeah, I think that's the most interesting stuff in my opinion. I think at the beginning I could have done better maybe asking you to explain stuff. So I will continue to do that for the rest of the episode if I
Sure,
get
sure,
lost.
sure. Yeah. Yeah, it is definitely it's definitely I definitely yeah. If you don't get something, definitely there's no point in the other person to keep talking.
Hmm. Yeah, that's
That's
actually
a
a
big
great point.
that's a big problem sometimes with especially when people are like confused and they're so far beyond confused and then they're afraid to admit it. It's really not going to do any good for the other person to just keep talking. And
Yeah.
it's you're going to be wasting both people's time. So it's wonderful to yeah.
I've actually
Like
thought about this a lot, to be honest. I think with school especially,
oh yeah, absolutely.
there's so many situations where honestly teachers just don't want you to ask questions really. And
Yeah.
it's yeah. I think it really I think it really hurts curiosity in some
Yeah.
ways.
Mhm.
What do you think about that?
Yeah. I think that's about right.
Can I think for a second?
Sure.
I've been asking that a lot lately, by the way. Do
I
you
have
think that
no, that's revolutionary. That is like iconic. Oh man, I promised myself I used to hate the word iconic and now it's just I'm leaning into it now. Um yeah, no, I've never heard anyone use that like you do. It's brilliant. It's absolutely wonderful.
who
It's
was
like
the
we're
last
gonna
who was
go
the
ahead.
last bass player you listened to?
Last base. Well, yeah, I would love to say that I don't make a habit of just listening to a bass player or knowing who a bass player is, but I did actually spill the beans on the last show that I was on that I do make a habit of tuning into Sherry Reed's channel and just watching whatever the heck he's doing.
Yeah.
Which in one it goes against. I mean, I'm not saying that I think the music sounds better with the bass three times too loud, but at the same time, I so appreciate that he just throws the iPhone on the stand while he's rocking out. And yes, I wish I could be in the church and I did actually one time tune into a live stream of that church to hear, and it was ridiculous. It was so much better. But yeah, I mean, I'm jealous of his job, basically. In
Yeah, I
that case,
mean,
it's because I'm jealous of his job. And I'm talking, like I said, I'm not talking about. He has one video from like 15 years ago in a church where he's going crazy, and it's got like a billion views. But I'm not referring to that one specifically. I'm talking about more modern times, just the regular Sunday videos where he just flips his iPhone on and throws it on the stand, and it's awkward camera angle, awkward sound because the bass is too loud. But I mean, it's hit or miss. But I mean, it's yeah. I'm jealous of his job. That's it.
sorry, what was the bass player's name again?
Sherry Reed.
Sherry Weed? Reed?
Sherry Reed. Yeah, you probably will not have any trouble finding him.
Yeah.
The other guys too. I love to just tune into like gospel gigs, like
Yeah.
real nice gospel gigs. Yeah, I have a
Do you know
soft
who
spot for
Corey
that.
Henry is?
I don't recall.
You don't? Oh, he's not a bass player, so I guess it doesn't really relate, but
Sure, it does.
he is a gospel player.
Hmm. I don't necessarily memorize names of all the people that I watch. So it's likely I've seen them or heard them.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's what's your favorite
Oh, that's
your
another thing that makes it. Sorry, I'll let you continue, but that and I take full responsibility for this. But that's another thing that causes screw to just pop right out in my brain.
Okay, I'll reword it
Systems
then.
failure.
What do you enjoy most about seeing something live rather than over a video?
Well, It's been a long time since I've seen something actually live in person, but now there's a lot of things that are way better. One thing is the cohesive sound is good. I mean, if you're seeing a thing through a video, it's actually okay sometimes if it's just taking room audio on the video. It's weird. Sometimes if you see a recording of a concert and they've got the direct feeds of everything, it can be really terrible. I mean, if they haven't mixed it or anything. Whereas someone with just an iPhone in the room is going to actually sound much better, even though the quality might be weird, but it's more cohesive, so you can hear the room. I don't know.
You know why that is?
Why
Why?
wouldn't it? Why I don't know why it wouldn't be that way.
Yeah, that's true. Do you think,
Yeah,
do you think, does having the video with the audio make the delay worse compared to if you just had audio?
delay.
Yeah,
Sorry, I don't know what we're talking about now.
because with video, you know how there's with a live stream, for example, there's going to be a delay.
Yeah, in conversation, yes.
Yeah. Do you think for a performance that if it was just live streamed, just the audio alone,
Yeah,
that
no,
that
no.
would
The
change?
the delay doesn't matter if there's only one way communication. If a concert is being live streamed, it could be delayed by 10 seconds, it could be delayed by 5 hours. The song is still going to sound the same,
Hmm.
right? Because it's all
Yeah.
equally delayed. Yeah, the delay that I think you're talking about is in conversation when there's two-way and you have to respond to it. So the thing gets there, and then you have to wait until the other person has heard it, and then they speak. So if you're trying to for example, if we were trying to do collaborative live music together on this stream, it'd be catastrophic because the delay that we're experiencing right now is probably at least half a second or more. So you can't do that unless you have, I don't know, some kind of special system. Yeah,
Yeah. Also, thank you for saying when you can't understand one of my questions. That helps a lot.
sure.
What got you into computer programming?
Necessity, hating the features that are there.
Did you ever
Necessity. It's not something that's been with me for my whole life. It's just something that's out of necessity. Yeah.
hmm, did you ever do it for a job or anything?
Um, yes and no. Not exactly. Not quite. Yes and no. Let's see what I have listed here.
Would you mind saying what you used it for or have used it for in the past?
I use it for like my own productions, like my own producing my own music, producing my own video. Yeah,
Oh,
I kind of have taken matters into my own hands in various ways on both
interesting.
sides, on the audio and on the video. Yeah, yeah.
Do you have any for some reason I always think of asking questions that are similar to what's your favorite or
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
any preferred whatever. So
yeah. I don't have much to say about no, sorry, never mind. I retract that.
I'm just trying
Go
to
ahead.
think
Go ahead.
what what programming languages have you used more and which ones do you I'm trying to think how to
Yeah,
say it
yeah, I think
without
I don't know if that's I just do what I have to. I just do what I
hmm,
have to get by. I mean, I find myself using whatever is available, whatever the system I'm in can understand. Yeah,
interesting.
but they're all kind of similar, honestly. They all go top to bottom. Sometimes you need a colon to signify when the if statement starts. Sometimes you need the word then to. Sometimes it uses indentation to tell whether you're inside of a clause or not. And sometimes if you don't have that, then you need the word end. But it's all similar.
If I'm being honest, I don't have any experience with that, so all of that is
Yeah,
really confusing to me.
that's okay. Yeah, yeah.
Would you have any ideas of where someone like me could start if they did
Yeah,
want
no,
to?
but the first question is why. You see what I'm saying? Like that's not how I got into it. I didn't get into it saying like, wow, programming seems really cool. I think I'll get into it. That's not how it
Oh,
was.
yeah. Yeah.
It was out of necessity.
Yeah.
There was some stuff that I was using that I hated. So I tried every possible way that I knew how to fix it. And when I couldn't fix it that way, I started to break the damn thing open. And then I already had a goal in mind. So there was no need for like a how do I get into it. There's more like
You had to.
how do I fix this problem? And
Yeah.
so at first it's like, okay, here's the code. Now I can't read a damn thing in here, but somehow you find the part of it that ought to be related to what you're trying to do, and you flip that one bit, and you're like, oh wow, now I know what that part does, and then just so there was not a desire to get into programming just for the heck of it.
Mm,
It was because I needed it, you know.
yeah.
It'd be like, you know, like your yeah, like your roof is leaking and there's no one around to fix it. So like you figure out how to fix roofs, and then it's like someone asks you, so how did for those of us who want to get into roof leak fixing, how would you go about getting into it? I don't know. Just trying to think of an
Mm.
analogy to the situation.
I think
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah. It's,
Yeah.
I guess my way of understanding it is being more of a problem solver
Yeah.
and not looking at something just because you think it's cool and actually doing something
Yeah.
because you want to actually do that thing.
Mhm.
Wow. Yeah, that's really interesting. Can you explain what the timbre of an instrument is?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I was going to say, speaking of, yeah, speaking of editing, there was a guy that I did a thing for a radio thing. I think it was an Australian radio station, and it was pre-recorded, and it was just like within 10 seconds, I was like, I can't, this is not going well. We can't do this. So it's pretty crazy.
Hmm,
Anyway, yeah, uh, yeah, TIMBR. Yeah, I don't know. I think that just means the sound. It's just like the sound,
that's it?
the acoustics sound. I think most people pronounce it timbre. I think it's a French word. I think that I mostly heard people pronounce it timbre. I think it's a French word. It's a French word.
Interesting.
Just means the sound. Most people do say timbre. I think. I mean, I don't want to. There's different ways to say it, but I think yeah. I think,
I don't know why in my head I always say timber.
well, because it looks like timber.
Yeah,
If you pronounce it like in English, American English,
it's definitely wrong in
it's
that
okay.
way. But yeah. Have you thought about learning any new instruments?
Sure. Let me think. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, no, I mean, in another life, I would be a guitar player, just seriously a guitar player, because there's like a lifetime of things to do on the guitar that I feel it would take a lifetime to explore, but I just haven't done that.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Well,
know how the guitar works, and I can do, you know, I can operate a guitar more or less, but it's yeah, in another
if you
life.
think about it, there's a lifetime of things you can do on every instrument.
Yeah.
It's, I think it's I don't know, it's really interesting to think about. There's so much you can do with music. It's so yeah, it's so cool to me
Hmm. Hmm.
to think about that stuff.
Hmm.
Do you know who James Jamerson is?
I believe so.
Do you know about how he played with only one finger?
I didn't know that. Bass player?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of him, and I'm
Yeah.
sure I've heard him for sure because isn't he like extremely prolific on famous recordings?
I actually haven't
Motown,
heard
right?
I haven't heard him. Well, maybe I have
No,
from
you have. I think you
Motown.
have. I mean,
Yeah,
he's
Motown.
a Motown player, right? Yeah. No, you've heard
But
him. You hear him. We walk into Walgreens. You hear him.
yeah, the reason why I asked that is because th there's this really good band called Wolfpack,
Hmm.
and they have this really they have I think the leader or not leader, but can I think about this for a second?
Sure.
So Jack Stratton is one of the main members.
Mhm.
Sorry, I need to read. We might
It's
have to
okay.
cut. We not might have to cut this part out.
No, don't cut this out. This is the best part.
Okay, cool. So Jack Stratton, he's just one of the members. I'll just say that. I don't
Right.
know if he's
I've
the
I've met
leader
I've met
or.
I know Jack Stratton. I've met him. I
Oh,
don't know him,
really?
but I've met him. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. But I was gonna say for
Should I have said there's no need for me to say that? I shouldn't have said that. Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say if they have
Sorry. I shouldn't have
there's
said that. I have to specify. The reason I shouldn't have said that is just because it was a gratuitous name drop. It
mm,
was a gratuitous I've met the guy. There was no reason I should have said it. I'm glad and proud that I spent some time with him, but it has nothing to do with this conversation. Sorry.
do you
Go
want me
on.
to cut that out?
I'm just training myself to be a better person. No.
Okay, cool. So yeah, they have the side thing called Wolfmon,
Mhm.
and I think they have I think they have this on one of their albums on Wolfmon, and it's just an audio recording of Jack talking about James Jamerson using one finger, and
Mhm.
it's so Jack.
Mhm.
It's really funny. I think he talks about Rick Rubin hitting on your girlfriend and talking about James Jamerson using one finger, trying to make a point.
Hmm.
He's trying to make a point of how, from what my understanding is, I think his point is about because he says to know your tools,
Mhm.
and I think his point is to to maybe use limitations to your advantage.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Oh yeah. That's a classic. Use limitations to your advantage. By the way, please let me know if this mic starts scraping against everything.
Oh, it has. I don't think
Sometimes.
it has so far.
Good, 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 good. Yeah,
Yeah,
sometimes it does, and it's a nightmare. Yeah, limitations, that's a classic. That's a classic.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
Do you have any additional thoughts to add to that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's raining. It's raining. It's raining. Good. What do you call it? Good. Good. That's a well-known thing. Yeah. Limitations.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I just thought that audio recording was really funny too,
But
and
what does
it's.
that have to do with playing one finger? Did he only have one finger?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely not.
Hmm.
But I was just. Why did I say that?
It's okay.
Sorry, am I going completely off rail?
That's a good thing anyway.
I might need to think for a second if that's
There's
okay.
the thing that I relate to about the limitations. The reference that comes to mind, unfortunately, is another name drop, and I don't know how to get around this. And I'm embarrassed to say that I haven't heard the original. It's from a Jack White song, and I'm embarrassed to say that I haven't heard the song. And this is John Green telling me about this. And he said, "It doesn't matter if you've heard the song. Let me just tell you the lyrics." And it has to do with, it's called like the big room or the little room or something. Forgive me, someone's heard it. Is going to know hopefully what I'm talking about. It's like geez, I'm paraphrasing. Start
No
out in a
worries.
little room. You start out with a little room, and if you do the thing really good in the little room, then it gets bigger, and you're going to need a bigger room. But then you're going to need to figure out how you did what you did in the little room, because then the room is too big and it's too overwhelming, and it's
Sorry,
like a
can
fable.
can you
It's like
explain what you mean by
you start with a small set of tools, and then if you do that well, then you naturally are going to expand to a larger set of tools, but then you're probably just going to be overwhelmed at the larger set of tools, and you're
mm,
going to need to one day convince yourself you're going to need to remember what you were doing with the smaller set of tools.
mm. It's like minimalism.
I mean, it happens all the time. You have to reset. It happens over and over and over again. I mean, it's happened every time I make something. I have to convince myself to do it simple, and then it gradually expands and gets out of hand, and then you have to just knock yourself and try to simplify it again. I mean, yeah,
Yeah, that's a really
it's classic.
minimalistic way of approaching music.
I think it's a necessity. I mean, it always tries to expand, and you always have to rein it back in.
Yeah.
It never ends up being actually minimalistic, unfortunately.
Yeah, by the end of it, it's way just out. It's
Yeah,
gotten
and then
huge.
if it goes well, then you get the idea that that's like the way you're operating. But you have to remind yourself that the only way to, yeah.
Hmm. I think that's interesting. Have Have you ever tried starting big and then getting smaller?
No, there's no need to ever do that. Getting small, no, I don't even know how that would be possible, really.
I just think that was an interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Huh.
flipping
I
stuff
don't know.
around is actually something that I think you like to do.
Yeah,
I was wondering, do you have any reasons why in particular?
I don't know why I wouldn't, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know.
Is that just the way that you've viewed things?
I don't know.
Hmm.
Seems like common sense to me, but maybe I don't know.
No, I agree.
Hmm.
Can I think for a second?
Sure.
Cool. Hmm. I think we might have to cut some parts of this
No, like
interview.
what?
I don't
Yeah,
know. I think I'm a little nervous, so sometimes I have to
yeah,
improv. I have to improv,
yeah.
like we were talking about earlier. And then
I
I
hope
feel
you don't
like
cut out the. I hope you don't cut out the. Let me think for a minute, because that's
no,
just
no, I won't cut that
solid
out.
gold. And I hope you don't cut out us thinking about whether or not we should cut things out, because that's like personally, that's my favorite kind of content.
Yeah.
Absolute favorite kind of content. I've said it before on another show, but I don't. They might have cut it out. I'm not sure. I wasn't in charge of editing.
Well, yeah, I guess I won't then. I will cut out that other part, but that's it.
Yeah, the other thing that we agreed we wouldn't talk about. Yeah,
Is there anything you want to talk about in particular?
yeah. Geez, everything. Absolutely everything. Absolutely everything. You know, you can tell. Yeah. Geez, I don't know everything. I was going to say you can tell. You can a good way to tell if you're in Arizona instead of Southern California, as there's more cactuses. That was pointless. I shouldn't have said that.
No worries.
Yeah, yeah. I was looking through just talk show appearances, guest talk show, guest appearances on old talk shows to just try to. I mean, I've listened to hundreds of these things, but just listening to try to figure out what the mechanics are,
Mm,
like what's written on the card, like try to figure out where the cues are and which things are prepared and which things
mm,
aren't. Because I'm trying to now. I already know coming into this. I already know sort of like the golden rule, which is like genuine is best, and like all the hosts and everyone always says, well, the best ones are the ones where you never get around to talking about what's prepared on the card. So it's like fine. I've had that in my head for a long time, but now that I've done a couple of these, at least as a guest, and I'm just really disappointed in what's happened, or just I'm thinking about how to host my own thing, and I'm just thinking I have no idea how to do it. I'm just sort of trying to teach myself how to do the preparing thing to see
mm.
if there's anything to that. And you can't. It's not a. You can't learn that in school, and there's not even
Yeah,
any like tutorial videos for that either.
yeah.
Um, I don't think like how to prepare for. No, I don't know. Maybe there is.
Well, actually, so I don't know if you've heard of Tim Ferriss.
Yeah.
In my opinion, he's a great podcast host.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually there's another podcast called Colin and Samir,
Mm-hmm.
and he went on their podcast and gave them some podcasting advice that I learned about, and that's really what got me going with this show. So I definitely recommend
Mm-hmm.
checking that out if you want to learn more about preparing. That's
Mm-hmm.
why that's why I asked you when we did our pre-interview call, I asked you questions like what would make this interview a win for you? I think that's just a
Yeah.
simple question. And
Yeah.
clearly I think it helps because I mean, my past interviews that I've asked that question for, they tell me what they think it would make it a win,
Mm-hmm.
and then I try to do that for them, and then they have a good time because of it.
Yeah. I'm sure I answered, but I don't know. Like I don't know what's going to make it great. Yeah.
I think that's okay.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Are there any specific podcasts that you really like?
I don't know. 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 I don't know.
In terms of podcasts that you've been on the Vibe Chamber a lot.
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna be wait, actually I should tell you this after call. I don't want to spoil
Okay.
anything. Yeah.
That's fair.
I think you might have an idea of
I have no idea.
no?
No, I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. Maybe I won't tell you after the call.
Okay.
Keep it a surprise.
Okay.
Do you like surprises at all?
Do I like surprises? I can think of some examples. I can probably fill both categories equally. Good surprises, bad surprises. I was going to ask you, do you like things? Never mind.
Do I like things?
Things. Tithing.
Just things in general?
Yeah. Yeah. See what I mean?
I mean,
Yeah.
I guess in a world without things,
Right. I was trying to
that might suck a little bit.
explain how I felt when you asked me if I like surprises. Yeah. Anyway.
Hmm. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I wrote down. It would be nice to look at the things that I wrote down on this list and
Oh
talk
yeah,
about whether
yeah.
I should mention and talk about whether I should mention them or not.
You can if you want.
Yeah, that's one of the things on the list.
Yeah.
Is that I should look at the list and talk about whether or not to mention things on the list.
Well,
That's one of the things.
I think you should.
Yeah, so far I think that one was pretty good. It would be. I said it would be nice to avoid saying things I've already said. I think as time goes by, it gets more difficult to remember what you've already said.
Yeah.
It's kind of a drag. If
Have I done that at all?
I have no idea. I haven't seen like you might have
Maybe.
like things you've said on previous shows.
I hope not. I try not
Yeah,
to, but you're right, it
yeah,
does get tricky.
yeah. I think when you get really like a lot older, it becomes difficult.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think there's science on that with memory spans getting shorter as you get older.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Also, I think it's really cool when someone says I don't know something. So
yeah.
that's something I'm trying to do more on my show.
Just an answer to a question that you don't know.
Yeah. Or
Yeah, it's a valid answer.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to ask me anything?
Yeah, I think no. Well, let's see. Man, it's devastating to do these. Um,
This is a practice run for you.
yeah. No, I don't know. I like another thing I wrote down is like I think I'm gonna quit and I can't handle doing this. The talking thing. Yeah.
Also, I'm not laughing at you, by the way.
Yeah.
Just I'm kind of a laugher. Sometimes my friends even wonder why I laugh so much sometimes.
Hmm.
I don't even know, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry if that was random.
It's okay. So what are the Rubik's cube techniques there?
Oh,
What do you
so
want to what do you want? What's the yeah.
I have one right here.
Okay.
For the listeners who don't know, Bill asked me a question in our emails, which I won't say, but I mentioned how I can solve a Rubik's Cube. And basically, to solve a Rubik's Cube, there's different layers to it, right? I can show
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I'll look away too.
Okay.
Tell me when to stop.
I have no idea. It looks pretty mixed. Actually, there's okay, keep going. Um, there still is one row that's no, it's okay, no, that's good enough.
That's good.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not an expert. Is this by the way, is this something that's already been is this something that's like common knowledge, like everyone knows how to solve it by now? Or no? Is it still
I mean, I don't think so.
okay,
Maybe
good.
unless you're an AI.
I certainly don't know about technique.
All right, so I'll show you the first step. You have to do this white cross
You raise it like 6 inches or so. Yeah.
like this.
Uh-huh.
Well,
Oh, okay.
I did not expect to be showing you how to do this.
So is that easy to just get that?
Yeah, I one day I was born, and then
One day you were born.
I just solved a Rubik's cube. That's kind of how it works.
Yeah, when you're spinning it, that should be. You're off the screen with that. I think it'd be better. No, no, yeah, no. You stop spinning it and then you hold it up. But I'm saying while you're twirling it, could you hold it a little bit higher?
I think it kind of makes it look like I'm doing a magic trick though,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Because you don't.
Okay. Okay. So you don't
Here, I'll
want to
show
show
you.
how to do it. You just want to do it.
Yeah, I just want to do it and show you that
Okay.
I've done it.
Okay. That's fine. So you don't
And
want to
then
have it on screen. It's halfway. It's exactly halfway on screen as you
and
do that.
then and then you can kind of guess how I did it. And
Okay.
then I can tell you if you're right.
Yeah. I don't know if I could exactly like like I don't know.
This is a really interesting interview so far.
Okay.
I think I'm almost done, by the way.
Okay.
I'm solving a Rubik's Cube. That's pretty
That's
cool, I
good.
think.
That's cool. At least it was not off the screen for it was not so significantly off the screen that there is any reason to believe that you cheated and swapped in an alternate cue. But it was not on screen enough to possibly learn any technique at all. So that's totally not what I asked you, but it's okay. Essentially,
Y-
you just solved a Rubik's cube, which is equally a valuable thing to do, I think.
Yeah, I don't want to
Yeah.
give away the secrets,
Okay. In that case, that's good.
but I mean, I guess if you did want to learn the secrets, there's this website called YouTube.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think it's a pretty good website, actually.
Makes sense.
Are there any YouTubers that you watch?
I don't know. I don't even know what that means, honestly.
What YouTuber
You know what I
means?
mean? Yeah, because what if it's no, no.
Is there any,
I mean, I mentioned some. I mean, yeah, no, I don't know. I just don't.
what are
I
the
just don't.
most recent videos? Or, hmm, do you know what a channel is?
Yep. Oh,
What is the
absolutely.
most recent YouTube channel that you watched?
Well, might have been Don Giller, but I mentioned I was trying to.
Not name drop? Oh, yeah.
No, I'm saying I was trying to like do a bit of kind of technical analysis on um, how talk show interviews sort of the mechanics work and try to actually start to detect where the cues were, what came from the card, what was spontaneous, what was not, and so forth. So I kind of went to Martin Short as a go-to just because he tends to be really, really top notch usually. But he also mentioned he's very good with the improv and spontaneity. But I think he also mentioned once that he likes to over prepare like a million things just in
Mm,
case, but then not
yeah.
necessarily use them. So anyway, I was doing some research, and where do you find a lot of Martin Short interviews? On a channel like Don Giller, and a lot of yeah. So that,
Hmm.
but he's not. Is he a YouTuber? No, I wouldn't call him that. I wouldn't characterize him that because he's been collecting this stuff um, for 30, 40 years, so he has, warehouses full of videotapes. So I don't think it's, yeah, I wouldn't, you know what I mean?
What was a recent guest appearance that you watched?
Well, like I said, I was looking at some Martin Short ones. So I was
Oh,
looking at some John,
yeah.
John Cleese, some John Cleese ones, I think, yeah,
Hmm.
from 20,
Interesting.
30 years ago. I don't know.
Do you watch any comedy videos on YouTube? Or just is there any are there any videos that you've watched that you find really funny?
Um,
Sorry, that's a loaded question.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Hmm.
I can't answer that. See, that's terrible. I shouldn't be in this business. Although but that, no, I don't know. No, no, no.
Was that a loaded question?
I don't know. Geez, no, I just couldn't handle it. I don't know how to comprehend it. I don't know how to answer it.
No worries. What other kind of things do you do do you have fun doing besides? music, as long
Well,
as it's not too personal.
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm making a bunch of videos. Yeah,
Okay.
making videos. Language learning actually has been like the main side hobby actually for the last 6 months.
Oh wow. Yeah, yeah, you told me.
Actually, yeah. So,
Would
but I
you
try not to spend too much time on that because it's not really the main like goal in life. But it's just if there's any sort of thing to go to, like if I absolutely need like a break from the work, I will just sort of yeah try to transcribe some Kuhn Sonder shows.
would you mind telling the listeners what language you've been learning?
Yeah, yeah, it's the Netherlands language, Netherlands,
Would you say
Netherlandic.
would you say you can have a conversation in it yet?
I can go into a yeah, I can go into like like a bakery or a coffee shop, and I can place an order and do all of that without them switching to English on me. And that may not seem like a huge achievement in the Netherlands, but believe me, it is
No,
because
yeah.
they love English so much. They are looking for a chance to just skip their native language and speak English. Now, when they speak to them each other, native Netherlanders, they speak Dutch normally just fine, with bits of English thrown in all the time because English is like the coolest thing in the world. Like they just throw English in all the time. Um, but they still, like the Dutch language is still the main language, and it's but but if anyone senses that you are not a native Dutch speaker, and if they think you speak English, they're going to switch to English, and they'll just keep switching to English. So yeah, no, I figured out how to get through the basic retail transactions and bakery transactions without them switching. Now, if you're in a major city, or like if you're in Amsterdam, if you're in even just the center of like Utrecht, for example, and you're in like a I don't know some places there, they will be speaking English, but not. It won't be your fault because actually in some of the stores, the people that work there don't speak Dutch.
Hmm.
So that's another thing.
Yeah, I think it's funny you say that. There are some countries that you go to and you try to practice their language and
I
they
know.
switch right away. They don't even let
I
you
know.
try.
Yeah. So it just means you just have to be good. Like
Yeah.
you just it's just a higher standard. Like you can't. Yeah, basically my thing now. Once I realized how bad that problem is, basically the goal is to be as good as they are, to like actually trick you into thinking
That
that.
you yeah.
Yeah, there was a guy. There was a guy. I was in this sort of exhibit thing for Dutch Design Week. Just stumbled upon it, and I was looking at this one exhibit, and he was like, the guy was like 6 feet away, and he was like, "You can control it with your hand." He just started with English, just because. I mean, it's kind of a international sort of event, but I just said "Loke," and he immediately started speaking Dutch to me, and he was like standing right in front of me, and he's like speaking in Dutch for like 60 seconds, and I was understanding like maybe 45% of what he was saying, but I was just savoring that moment. I'm like, this guy thinks like I tricked this guy on one word, and halfway through I said like heck or something.
What does that word mean?
Loke means like cool, and heck means crazy. He was explaining how the thing is controlled by the heat in your hand, and it's like the atmosphere and something like that. But yeah, no, I just hung back. Yeah, it was. But no, as soon as they figure out that you speak English, they will be on English so fast. But
Yeah.
so my strategy is just listening to like talk shows and radio and stuff like that. Just keep listening and listening and listening until I understand 100% of what I'm hearing, and just wait to start speaking too much. Because if you start speaking too early, I don't know. I think I'll pick up bad habits or something. Anyway, it's just a hobby. It's not really. It's just what I do. Sort of. You mentioned what do I do like
Yeah, yeah. I thought
for
that was a
enjoyment?
great
Yeah,
answer.
yeah, yeah. I
I
almost forgot about that. Yeah.
I was gonna say I I use Duolingo to learn,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but if I'm being honest, Duolingo, sometimes it kind of it gives you these it gives you the basics, but it'll throw you into the grammar without really explaining why it's doing it.
Hmm.
So in Japanese, for example, I'm learning Japanese right now,
Hmm.
and whenever you say something like he's a doctor,
Hmm.
I think you say can I think about it for a second?
Sure.
I'm very new to learning the language, so
Hmm. Hmm.
it's Isha des.
Hmm.
And I think doctor comes before he's when you
Hmm.
say it. So
Hmm.
stuff like that, they don't really
Yeah.
explain.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know,
Hmm.
kind of bums me out.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's why you gotta go to other sources and stuff.
Hmm.
Do you, when you learn, do you read articles and stuff?
Well, reading is cool, but I think I want to say listening is the most important. It's great if you can listen and read at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's nice because I don't want to just have garbage spelling. So I do want to be like, basically in tune with how to spell. But if you read too much and don't hear what you're reading, then you're going to have all kinds of bad things going on. Bad pronunciation.
I guess one way you could do that is read an article and have a text to speech.
Yes, text to speech is okay, but it's still not going to be as good as a real person speaking.
Yeah.
Actually, it could be almost as good, but it's always going to be better than a real person speaking. And just
Yeah.
real conversation,
Oh yeah, for sure.
things like just yeah, wacky things that are like normal.
Yeah,
Just certain patterns of speech that people do all the time that you just can't learn in school. You
yeah,
know.
that's honestly I think why language and even just socializing is so tricky because it's
Yeah.
one of those things you have to push yourself to do.
Hmm.
So I think
Hmm.
that's interesting. Are there any other languages you'd want to learn in the future?
Yeah, I've just recently had sort of spontaneous
Desire?
ambition to yeah, just to like learn them all. And like I'm aware of the sheer impossibility of that. Have I said this before? I'm quite sure I probably said this at least a couple of times before. Yeah, no, it's at this point, at least as of right now, it's probably not possible for me to learn every language in the world, but I sure wish I could. So, but for some reason, I've started with that one, and that's the one I'm doing. I want to learn Spanish, French, and Italian all at the same time, but I don't know if I'm going to get to that. I want to learn those all at the same time because they all seem like kind of close cousins, and they all seem like if you do all three at the same time, you can kind of converge
Well,
on Latin somehow.
some I've heard from my mom because she knows French, or
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much of it she knows, but I think she told me once that it's tricky to learn I forget which ones it is. It's French and is it French and Italian that are similar or is it
French, Italian, and Spanish are all very similar. Spanish and Italian are probably extremely similar.
yeah, I think she was
Spanish
telling
and
me
Italian.
that it gets tricky to learn multiple languages that are similar like that
Okay,
because
that's fair. That's
just
fair.
because when you're learning it, it's so
You
similar,
mix it.
you mix
Yeah,
it together.
yeah, it's true. French, I French was in school. I had French for many years, so there is some French, but it doesn't add up to fluency. I mean, it's many years of like school French, but it still doesn't add up to fluency. And now, after like less than a year, like my Dutch is actually, I'm quite sure, is better than my French now. Um, anyway, I have some French kicking around in there.
I think traveling to those places is a huge way of progressing.
It's pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah, I told you this, but for the listeners who don't know, I went to Italy last year. I also went to Mexico for a year, actually. Not a year.
A
Sorry.
year, last year.
I mean, last year, yeah. I
Yeah.
went for a month though.
Hmm.
And I learned so much by going. I think you learn a lot just by being there
Yeah.
and observing. that you couldn't have done if you stayed at
Yeah.
home and
Hmm.
researched it.
Hmm.
What do you think?
Well, what you can do at home is find a lot of genuine conversational content
Yeah,
on
but
videos
you get
and
more.
conversations.
I think you get more when you actually travel there because you're there in person.
You are there,
And
but are you allowed to eavesdrop on strangers having conversations for
you,
extended periods of time?
well, I mean, as long as you don't look like you're doing it.
Yeah, you might get away with it. Yeah. I feel like you can expose yourself to like more hours of like listening very closely to genuine conversations where they don't know you're there
I mean,
and they're not worried about trying to make sure you understand or anything like that, you know.
if you're just sitting in a coffee shop, they're not gonna think you're
It's true,
purposefully
yeah.
eavesdropping,
No, right.
you
Yeah.
know?
But if you're on a but if you have a video, then you can back it up and you can work on it and you can transcribe it and you can do all kinds of things.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm thinking of there's two guys that I know that are very good role models in terms of language learning, and they're both for Japan. You might know what I'm talking about. One of them is a channel called Matt versus Japan, and
Sounds familiar.
another one is Ken. I can't remember the guy's name. I just can't remember the guy's name. I could probably figure it out.
Is he,
Both of these. Hmm?
sorry, is one of them, the second one you mentioned, is he someone that goes around and tricks people? He makes them think he doesn't speak the language and then he
No,
speaks
no,
it?
no, 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 no,
Okay.
no. I don't think so. I don't think so.
Sorry.
No, no. But both of those guys, what they have in common is they're very into the like listen. Like get to almost where you can understand 100% before you even worry about speaking. That's sort of a not. It's not an approach that everyone agrees with, but it's I think the one that I think is pretty good. Anyway, they do extremely well, and they can speak extremely well. Um, oh, and I think they both said, or at least one of them, both of them said that the main core of the main amount of their improvement was while they were not in Japan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which could only be true in the internet age, where we
Yeah.
have exposure to massive amounts of video content, conversations,
Wow.
and but then you go there and for a few months to like tighten the screws, But yeah, I don't know. I've heard a number of people say that if you just listen and listen and listen and listen, I mean these guys are like they would listen to like content for like two
Hours and hours.
years,
Oh.
like just like years,
Or
many months, and a language like Japan coming from English, you're going to listen to a long time and still understand absolutely nothing. Like there's a long time where it's, but eventually you start getting somewhere.
and you have to listen for hours and hours a day too.
A long time, and and you have to do active listening too, active and passive. Like you do have to spend some time where you're, you know, trying to like study it and trying to break it apart and trying to learn things, and then other times put it in the background. It's also pretty good to take things that you have studied and learned and then put those on in the background. I don't know. There's all kinds of different combinations of things. I don't know. I don't know. A lot of different theories about language learning.
I think
I only got into language learning the past year or so.
I think there's different types of learning processes and I
Yeah,
mean, I actually don't know. Do you know about the audio learner thing? And I think it's called, sorry, can I look this up really quick?
sure, sure.
There's visual learners and then audio learners and then
Hmm.
hands-on. But I've heard
Okay.
that that's not actually true
I mean,
because people can have different ways of learning and it can
sure.
change. I was wondering, what do you think about learning and if if your process changes over time?
Yep, could be.
Yeah.
Definitely many different types of learning. Too many different types of learning to fully accurately describe with simplified terms such as hands learner, audio learner, visual learner. Yeah, that probably is not sufficient enough to describe the
Yeah.
complexity of the different types of learning. But yeah, lots of different types of learning. I think one person is likely to remain fairly similar in their style of learning over the course of their life, but it also could change. I don't know if that was a
Yeah.
constructive answer at all,
No,
but
that was what I was looking for.
yeah,
Also, please let me know if I'm interrupting you too much or
you're
anything.
cool. You're cool. Yeah,
I try not
I
to.
could. No, I'm sure I do the same thing too. Yeah,
Can I think for a second?
sure.
Have you ever done any counterpoint training?
You know, I don't know. I don't know. That word must mean more than I think it means, because if it means what I think it means, it's not a very useful word. So
I actually don't know what it means either, but
yeah, I'm not too worried about it, because like I know how to like make music, and I know how to like, I mean, I believe it has something to do with like multiple things going on at the same time. But I mean, I've been doing music for many, many, many years with multiple things going on, and like,
it's not a need for you.
I mean, I know what I'm doing, and there's a lot of different things you can do too. I don't know if that's, I don't know. I've never had a need for the word counterpoint.
Hmm.
So it might, I don't know what it means.
I guess I don't need to ask what it means for you then.
Yeah.
Also, am I having
It's
a,
one of those words.
oh,
Sorry. It's one of those words. I
you're
think
good.
it's one of those words where I think if, I don't know. No, I shouldn't say this. It seems like one of those words that you think it means more than it does. I don't know. It seems like most people have heard the word, but they think it's over their head, which is kind of bad news, because I think it's not really over anyone's head. I mean, if you just start doing stuff,
You figure it
it'll
out.
be just fine. Yeah, I don't. I think I feel like it's a word that people like to think of as over their head, even though it's not
Hmm.
a thing. I don't. I don't know.
No, I think that's
I really don't know.
interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what other types of, I mean, music theory gets really complicated sometimes, and I think there's a lot of different, I guess, aspects to it that maybe there's just a lot of confusion,
Mhm.
and over time it gets so complicated it's hard to actually learn and how to actually apply everything into music.
Yeah, I that doesn't make sense to me. Like, I think the way you just said, apply some sort of theory into music. I think it works the other way. I think you take the music,
And
and
apply it to
then
the theory.
if you want to, you can try to come up with a theory
Yeah.
for what's going on, or what makes it good, or what makes it this, and you can come up with some things in a certain time period, or in a certain artist's work, or in a certain group of songs, or maybe you get hip to a certain thing that you're doing for 6 months, and you can make a theory about patterns that occur within that, and that's something. But that'll change. I mean, you can find a different way to do it, and then you can break it. So you never want to take the rule first and then try to apply it to the music. I mean, yeah, no, you can. Yeah, music is you cannot pin music down, and that's the reason it works so well. But there's plenty of things you can say about it, and you can make theories from music. But I think you get into trouble once you start thinking that those theories are going to be nailed to the wall anywhere and be a prescription for anything. And I think a lot of people think that that's what it is, and I don't think it's that way. I think you
Yeah.
run into trouble if you try to think that way. Which is again why like a word like music theory is one of those words that just makes the screws like pop right out of my brain, and I don't even know how to think clearly anymore.
Yeah, I think, what was I thinking? Hold on. Sorry. I think for me, I guess I think a lot about this stuff, but I don't really know how to actually talk
Mm-hmm.
about that stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
I th I think that's why maybe I might use words like that and not entirely be correct.
That's cool. Well, I think what I was trying to say was there is no correct in that way.
Oh, that's a good point.
I mean, music is magic. Music is like a magical thing.
Yeah.
It literally is magic. It's like, how is that doing what it's doing, you know?
And it's kind of infinite.
Right. Yeah, there's infinite things you can do with it. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's always going to have ways of whatever theories you have about it, that's fine. But you can always do something that goes against that. And it
Hmm.
starts to become a good idea to go against, making rules, breaking them, making rules, breaking them.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know.
Wow. Can I take a breather?
Yeah.
Cool. I think I'm a little worried I might be asking dumb questions to you
No,
sometimes.
that's fine. I'm worried I'm giving terrible answers, so it's fine.
I'm a little worried that I'm all over the place for the listeners especially.
Mhm.
But is there anything you want to talk about?
Other than everything, um, yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I think that's also a good question to ask when you start your show. Just if you ever don't have any questions, you can
Mhm.
see.
Yeah, it's tough because there is. I don't know though. I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to put that on the spot like that.
I don't think so. I
There's a
mean,
lot of things to talk about. There's like so many things to talk about. Like you could analyze the shape of this chair. I mean, like,
true. What shape is
do
it?
you, do you think about numbers a lot or no?
Numbers.
Not so much.
I'm not good at math,
Oh, that's cool.
but what were we gonna say?
I already said it. Do you think about numbers or no?
Oh, that's it. No, I don't.
Well, if you had said yes, maybe there would have been a different thing, but you said no, and that's cool.
Yeah, that's why I guess I don't know. It's funny how I did that. You asked that, and for some reason I thought you were gonna ask something else. I just assumed that that would happen.
Well, I think if you had said yes, I would have. Maybe you would have said something. Maybe you would have said something along with that.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
If I did say that I think about numbers a lot, and I actually do, then that
Yeah.
creates a ripple, and it's like the butterfly effect. Who knows what we
Mhm.
could be talking about, you know?
Right, but the thing is that that's not actually the answer. So there's no. I mean, we have to now assume that you're a totally different person who does think about numbers. So maybe you'd say, yeah, I think
Oh
about it in
yeah,
this way or this or that, but that's not you.
maybe in another timeline.
Yeah,
What do you think about
it's not.
time?
It's time. Um, well, yeah, time is something. It's weird to me when people talk about time travel
Yeah,
because time, as if it's like, oh, what if time travel? But time travel is
already happening.
the yes, it's the only way that we are able to travel. Time is required for travel. Like, go somewhere and then look at the time. It'll be different from when you left. So yeah, it bugs me out a little bit that like people talk about time travel as if it's some other thing that,
Well,
but that's actually the only.
usually what people mean is, I guess, traveling to the past
Mhm.
because I don't think that's something we've been able to do.
Yeah, and then but then it's like you need a whole lot more specifics. Like there's a
Yeah.
whole bunch of things that go along with that. Like logistically, there's like 1,000 different things that could logistically mean, and I think none of them. I think all of them break logistically. Yeah,
It's also really hard to think about time because time is infinite.
yeah. It is pretty weird to think that now is different from now.
Yeah,
That's pretty weird.
that's really weird.
Yeah, yeah. It is pretty weird. But
And
I
yeah,
think
wow.
gradually, as my life goes by, I'm gradually starting to get a handle on it. I think. Um,
Do you ever feel like time moves faster as you get older?
well, yeah. I mean, yeah. In a way, yeah, it does. I think everyone says that, and there is definitely some truth to that. Yeah.
I kind of feel that way, even though I'm I think I'm still relatively young, but
Yeah, I mean the years and stuff go faster, but in terms of time on a short scale, like in the scale of seconds and or like musical timing, no, I don't
Oh
notice
yeah.
any difference. I don't notice any difference with that. I don't notice any difference with the pacing of dialogue or anything like that. But in terms on a scale of years and months and years, yeah, of
Does that ever bother you?
course,
I think it bothers
yeah,
me
it'll bother
sometimes.
you soon. Yeah, it bothers everyone.
Yeah. It's tricky. There's so much to think about with time too, just
Hmm.
because life itself is so short
Yeah,
and there's so much that we want to do. We have
I know,
so little time. It's kind
I
of
know,
it makes me feel more grateful, honestly, though.
right?
What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. There's a. Have I said this on another show already? I think I might have said this already.
No
Yeah,
worries.
there's yeah, no, it's kind of natural for people to come around to like thinking, well, it's good that we don't live forever, and we should be glad that we don't live forever because it means that it's gonna, we'll be more glad about the time we do have. And like, okay, fine, like I see that argument, but at the same time, sometimes I think that's just a pretty lame argument. Like, no, I wish I could live 20,000 times longer because I really think there is that much stuff to do. I really think, like I mentioned, I want to learn every language and stuff like that. I want to visit every corner of the globe. There is a lot of stuff I wish I could do that I don't have time to do. So I'm not sure. Um, I do think it's a real drag. Yeah,
What do you think
yeah.
about the
There's
phrase? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
What do you think about the phrase "time is money"?
I mean, I see what it's getting at. Yeah, and in terms of like in context, I see what it means, and yeah, it makes sense. It's a business statement. It's a statement about productivity and business. Makes sense.
Sorry, would you like to go ahead and say what you were gonna say?
Oh, something about a I don't know, something about a book that where the moral of the story is like that you should be glad that you don't live forever. Yeah.
Yeah, there's also the whole story of the Fountain of Youth. I think is really
Right.
interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't th I don't know if I've ever actually read it. What is that from? Is it just an old?
There was a book that was required reading when I was in school. Now that does not mean that I read it per
Yeah.
se, but I was in class during the days when everyone was talking about it. It was a yellow themed book. I think it's called Tuck Everlasting, but it's like a yellow themed book. The book is yellow.
Wait, sorry, how
Everything's
do you
yellow
say
in
it?
it. Tuck Everlasting. Is this even a real book? Am I making this up? I didn't read it. I was just in class when it was being. It's probably been remade. Oh look, it's a film. It's probably been remade. Oh look, it was remade as a film. Now it's a book. Natalie Babbitt. Anyway, I didn't read it, so I shouldn't be talking about it. But if I recall correctly, it's about a family who lives forever, and I believe somewhere in the book it's kind of realized one way or another that they don't really want to be living forever, and it's sort of like this moral of it's like it's like okay, here's if people could live forever, but they don't really want to live forever. So great, we should be glad that we don't live forever. But recently, I've been sort of questioning that and thinking, no, it is a damn shame that we can't live forever. But everything would be different. Everything would be very, very, very different. I
Yeah.
mean, I have thought about this a lot. If you could really live forever, everything would be really, really, really different. Like
Yeah.
actually forever, it'd be really different.
I don't
Like
know if
nothing would be the same. Language wouldn't exist
yeah.
the way it is. Nothing would be the way it is.
I don't even
So
know
I
if
don't know.
I
Yeah.
don't even know if we could imagine what it'd actually be like.
Yeah. I mean, you'd spend forever just analyzing like a piece of dirt,
I mean, you
before.
really could.
Yeah. And but there'd be even more. And I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
makes yeah. I mean, I guess a lot of what we do, there's kind of a driving force behind everything since I mean that driving force is time,
Hmm.
and because of that
Hmm.
we have to really, I guess, focus more on what we actually want to do.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good lesson.
Yeah.
Can I think for a second?
Yeah.
If you want, you can steal that, by the way, when you do your own show.
I might. I wasn't going to, but I might. It works. It just gets better. I don't know. You were doing that before when we were talking, and I was like, wow, that's really something. I wonder if that actually flies. Like on the show. Have you said that before on these?
Yeah, I have.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Have you heard anyone else say it like that, or is that your thing?
I I'm trying to think. I might have stolen it from somewhere,
Yeah.
but
Well, it's worth stealing because it's good.
yeah, I don't
It's so
really
simple too. It's such a simple thing, you know?
exactly. That's why I do it.
Yeah.
What's something you're excited for?
I don't know. Um, I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Sorry, I need to think for a second.
Yeah.
What do you think about space?
Space,
Space.
like
Yeah.
physical.
No, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah,
Or are you talking about realms that are outside of the Earth's space?
that.
That, okay.
Technically, Earth is in
Well,
space.
I promise you, I've absolutely never been there. So, and I happen to know that it's very different from anywhere in here. You're missing gravity, you're missing breathable air, and that's not the only thing that's different. Like I think it's like really, really, really different. Like light is all different because everything's different. Everything's different. So what am I to think about? Like how can I possibly think about it? Like I don't know anything about it.
Are are there any, I guess, topics about space that you're interested in? Maybe like stars or
Well,
moons.
I don't know. I think gosh, one of my recurring problems is I don't really know what a topic is, seriously. Um
I guess
yeah,
I guess it would be an idea
terrible.
or
I don't
sorry, I
know.
feel like I'm not making sense right now.
No, you're cool. It's probably me.
I feel like it's probably me.
I don't know. I don't know. I've never been out there, so I just don't know. I mean, it's no, I don't know. I just don't know.
That's okay.
I just don't know. I have a no. Yeah, no, I don't know.
I do
I
have
don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a poster above
Yeah.
my bed and it's called The Chart of Cosmic Exploration. And
Uh-huh.
it just has all the planets aligned. Maybe I can show you. Would you mind?
Is it sure? Yeah. Is it the stuff that we've done so far?
What do you mean? Oh, I don't
Exploration.
think my camera
Yeah,
actually
that's all right.
reaches enough.
Okay.
But that's kind of what it looks like. And basically it has all the planets aligned and it has a bunch of different
I've
satellites.
got it. Hold on, I've got it.
Can you see it online?
You can reset. I think I've got it. Can I get it in a way that's gonna?
This is gonna be a really interesting episode, by the way.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that was why I was thinking about it because I
Does
looked up
this refers to what we've done so
what
far?
sorry, what do you mean?
Like human exploration, like what we've
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, that's what it
showing
means.
like are these our satellites and stuff, telescopes?
Yeah, those are our
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah,
Unless
yeah,
unless there's any alien ones on there. I don't think so
yeah,
though.
yeah,
I'd hope not.
yeah,
Do you believe in
yeah.
aliens?
They're always getting further with that.
What do you think about aliens?
Well, I don't know.
For me, I think aliens could be out there,
Hmm.
but we have no idea what they'd look like, and I don't think it's really
Yeah, it 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 seems like I mean, one way of thinking of it is like the evolutionary trajectory that we're in is so quick so quick. Like, I mean, we're on a thing where we're on a trail of discovery and improvement and breakthrough, and you discover fire, and then suddenly you discover everything else 10 times quicker, and then you discover language, and then suddenly you discover everything else 10 times quicker, and then you discover rockets, and then you discover everything else 10 times quicker still, and then computers are invented, and then you can do everything else 10 times quicker, and da 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 da. So now, like, just in the past 100 years, we're like so much further than we were before. So like everything's getting faster and faster, and like going from like, you know, non-human regular animal to like suddenly being human, and now everything that we do, and now computers and da, 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 da. It's so fast, right? That any quicker, any more than that, any more progress than that, and we're gonna like, invent ourselves out of the bounds of time and space entirely. So it's like we're saying, like, is there anyone else out there? But I mean, it's really like, it seems like if you advance kind of the way we're advancing, like you advance so much and then you pretty much disappear or something. I mean, it's
Hmm.
like the window is so small
Wow. Well,
or something. So yeah,
it's so small, but at the same time, it's not. If you, because I
I mean, I don't
mean,
know what I'm talking about really.
with time, like we were talking about earlier, it seems small, but maybe it's really not
Mm-hmm.
in the grand scheme of things.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't really know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
I wish I could understand more of that stuff. I feel like you have a lot more understanding than me.
Mm.
I can't.
Well, I'm not sure. I don't know if I know anything necessarily, but
Well, I think you're
there's
better at describing it.
some people. Yeah, some people wonder why we haven't seen anybody out there, because it's like if if there's anyone who's as advanced as us, it's like we're only going to be as advanced as we are for a tiny, tiny, tiny period of time, because we're getting more advanced extremely, extremely, extremely quickly. So the little tiny window of time where someone is just as advanced as we are is extremely small. So if you get any further than this, like, I mean, I don't know. It seems
You
like if there's,
disappear.
or you conquer the
Like,
entire universe pretty much, I
yeah.
guess. I don't know. It depends if there's anyone else
Or maybe
there.
even other universes, if that's a thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know. I just don't know. I'm not. I wouldn't consider myself an expert on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I I don't know. It's all interesting.
Hmm.
Also, let me know again if I'm interrupting. I
No,
think
that's
I
cool. No, I
yeah.
probably do it more than you.
Well, I really feel bad for the listeners if I do that. So I hope I'm not. Anyway, I'm gonna move on.
It's cool.
How are you doing right now?
I'm okay.
Cool. We've been doing this for 2 hours, I think. Is that cool with
Yeah,
you?
yeah, that's all right. If it's all right with you, I mean, it's
Yeah,
your
it's cool
show.
with me.
You have to take responsibility.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
I think I don't know, maybe it'd be better to actually end it soon
sure.
if I can't think of a lot, but I might take a moment. When you play jazz, do you think it's better to not think about scales?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase that a different way. When you're speaking, do you think it's better to not think about letters in the words?
No. Or
You think it's better to think
I
you think
mean
it's better to think about the letters in the words, or no?
no.
Okay. I hope that wasn't an egregious analogy, but I think that's the right analogy.
No, I think yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's more about the meaning.
I mean, you just do it. I don't know. First of all, okay, if you're talking about notes and different sets of notes and lists of notes, I don't really, I don't know. I don't, scale is not the way I would think to group notes. Um, I mean, there's different ways of organizing the notes and grouping the notes. The first way that comes to mind is like every note. on the instrument. If you're
Yeah.
playing an instrument like a piano, it's like all the notes are there. They're just all there. They're all there. And I wouldn't even think of them in order like from low to high. They're just all there. So okay. So those are the notes that you can choose from. So that's the way I would think about it.
Can
I
you
don't know.
can you
Yeah.
explain what you mean by you don't think about it from low to high?
Well, they're just all there. I mean, you're not gonna play them in order from low to high or from high to
Oh,
low necessarily. They're just all there. Like
yeah.
the potential is there for you to play any note or not play any note at any time.
Yeah.
So you have not only which note to play, but you have whether or not to play a note, right? People talk about scales as if it's like which note should they play, but what about the possibility of not playing a note? Even if you're only allowed to play one note, like the same note, there's still like a world of things to think about.
Yeah.
Rhythm, like note on, note off, how long the note is, how loud the note is, when to play it and when to not play it. So there's still a world of things there. So I guess if you say scale, it almost kind of doesn't even, it's like it doesn't even pay attention to like all of that. So and yeah, there will be often like, okay, you will find yourself in a situation sometimes where you will notice that you have a set of notes likely to be used, and sure, they will be something like C, D, E, F, G, A, for example. Maybe not even the B, but I don't know. Scale implies that it's always going to be like a list of steps, whole step, half step, and that it'll continue to reach the thing. But that's not really, that's just not the way it goes usually in real life. It just is not the way it goes. So I just don't think of it that way. I think, yeah, I just don't think of it that way.
Well, I think you just blew my mind, honestly.
If you want to play, also jazz is one of these words that makes my head explode because jazz originally was a genre of pop. It was like popular music, and then it turned into something else, and then it turned into something else, and then it turned into three different things, and then it turned into four different things, and then at a certain time period, jazz actually just means instrumental music, and then but it means, so by now it means like 50 different things. So I'm not even sure like what it means. But if you're talking about like improvising
For jazz.
over a song, let's say you're talking about like improvising over a song, like you have a song like popular song, and you want to play it and then mess around and improvise it. Let's say, yeah, first thing is just the song. Just play the song. That's
Yeah.
pretty much what it is. The song will take you all the way there.
Yeah.
And then and then try not to goof around. And you probably will end up goofing around. Try to avoid goofing around before you even finish playing the head or the first, iteration of the melody. And it'll be so irresistible to goof around. So I
Yeah.
don't know. Just play the song and goof around.
Yeah. Do you know who his sorry, I always blank out on names. If I'm gonna look it up really quick if it's okay. Ooh, I think sorry, 1 second, if that's okay with you. I think it's Victor Wooten. Yeah, Victor
Mm-hmm.
Wooten. I don't know if you're
Mm-hmm.
familiar with him.
Mm-hmm.
I saw an interview with him recently, and he was talking to another guy named Rick Beato,
Mm-hmm.
and he said something like he gives, I think he was talking about students and how he gives his students permission to play at their worst,
Mm-hmm.
and then over time, or not over time, I think by doing that, eventually they're gonna play so good,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I think,
it's a good trick.
yeah, I think that kind of relates to what you were saying.
Well, I mean, definitely it's a good trick to try to like just play, see how bad you can play because yeah, music is a magical thing and you never know what's going to make it tick. I mean, people have been trying to capture what it is that's going to make this music good all the time, every time. And like a mischievous child, as soon as the music finds out that you are trying to force it to be a certain thing, it will run away. It will just try to do the opposite thing. So music is just funny like that. So sometimes you can trick it by doing the opposite, by trying to make it bad, and it ends up good sometimes.
And then vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm gonna have a lot of thinking to do, honestly, after our interview. I mean, I know a lot of stuff you keep saying that
Are,
oh,
by the
sorry.
way, are you gonna have both cameras on screen at the same
Yeah,
all the time? Or are you gonna switch to? Okay. I
yeah.
was wondering if I just nodded at something you were saying. I was wondering if that was going to trigger a camera change because it wouldn't have triggered a camera change if it was audio triggered.
No, I think I like
I'm the one who's interrupting you. I'm
I,
sorry about that.
no, it's okay. I mean, I think I worry about it too much when I don't know. Anyway, I was gonna say, what was I gonna say? Also, don't worry about interrupting me. It's all good. Oh yeah, I was gonna say I like the two side by side
Mhm.
more and from at least for my show. I just think it's in terms of a conversation, it's better when you can see both people talking
Yeah,
and you can see each person's facial expressions and
yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think it's okay if other shows do it, but for me personally,
Yeah.
cool. What do you think about microtones?
I mean, first, I mean, I've been asked about this many times,
Oh,
and I always have to take a deep breath whenever I'm asked about that. But the first thing I have to do is say, "What do you mean by that?"
what I mean by it, I guess, is the notes in between the notes.
Right, but which ones? I kind of already answered this earlier because I said what I want is 12 tet, but I also want all the pitches, full range of pitches. Ooh, in the voice, trombone, pitch bend. So it's nice to have a full range or 12 tet. I've discovered that I'm really not interested in any other system of in tune discrete notes other than 12 tet. And it's weird for me to say that I'm so into 12 tet, but like I said, like I was talking about before, went down that rabbit hole. I was way, way, way more impressed with 12 tet than I expected to be. But what did you mean by microtones?
So I don't have an exact definition, but I guess a way for me to describe it would be kind of like someone singing like and then
Oh, sure.
the
Yeah.
the gliding, you know?
The full range of pitch.
Yeah. I
Of
guess
course.
that's
Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking of.
Essential. Essential. We're using it right now as we speak
Yeah.
in the melody of our talking. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't have a definition for it though. So I'm
Yeah.
sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah. No, definitely want that. That's why I use my voice. It's why, well, I probably don't even know. Yeah. I mean, singing stuff, yeah, I slide things. I don't, um,
You can do it with
well, I don't,
instruments too.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you in whatever program that you use, do you do that with recordings that aren't necessarily live instruments? So I guess MIDI.
Yeah. 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 I bend things. Sure. I mean, you'll hear something like I'll bend. Sometimes I'll set the bend to be a full octave bend sometimes, and take a chord and do that. It's kind of nice.
Sorry, I don't know why I just thought asked that.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, I guess, do you have to focus really hard on every detail of the bend when you do it? For how long it bends, for how far down the bend goes, and or if it goes down and then
The
it comes
kind of
back up.
well, the kind of bend that I was just talking about. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could do it, but I mean, you put it on the wheel,
Yeah, the modulator.
usually the spring-loaded wheel. You can put it on either one. Yeah, put it on either one, but the spring-loaded one is typically the one that's a pitch bend. And yeah, sometimes I'll set that to be 12 step, which means 12 half steps, which means a full octave.
Cool.
Sometimes even two if necessary. I mean, depending. If I'm doing sound effects, yeah, I might do that. Something like that.
I think that's interesting. Also, I've realized whenever I am asking you something, I think after if I don't know what to say, I I think I might ask if I can think too much.
No. Yeah,
Do you
well, I
think
don't know.
so?
I actually I think that's so cool. I just think that's so cool. It's the closest. Nah, yeah, I just think it's so cool. It's just
I
nah.
I just worry about it.
I don't have I don't know. You actually you can worry about it because no, it doesn't bother me. I don't know if it bothers anyone else, but it doesn't bother me.
Cool. Yeah, I guess that actually maybe I should not care too much and instead if just have a just focus more on just talking to you. I think maybe that instead of thinking too much about it being a interview, that might help me.
Yeah, I don't know. Easier
So
said than done, probably. I don't know.
anyway, yeah, I think it might be a good time to end it if you're okay with that.
Sure. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I guess I'll say thanks everyone for listening to today's episode. I think I had a really fun time talking to you, Bill, and I really appreciate you joining me. I actually, when I reached out to you, I genuinely didn't think I'd get a response back. I just, because sometimes with when you're reaching out to people, you don't know if
Yeah.
the tricky part is just getting a message back for a lot of people.
Mhm.
So I'm
Mhm.
really thankful that you wanted to hop on, and
Yeah.
I hope you had a good time too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
And
you.
that's it for the episode. Thank you all for listening. I upload every Friday, and you can listen on Spotify and Apple Podcast. And that's about it. See you next Friday.